Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we'll be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, wineries businesses, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Good day, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today I'm speaking to Philip Myburgh of the Meye. Welcome, Philip, to About the Winelands.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Well, it's such a pleasure talking to you. I've been to you. I've been to your place, which is absolutely beautiful. And, I've always thought it would be great to actually interview you. So can you tell us a little bit of the history? I mean, you're the fifth generation Myburgh on your farm. Tell us a bit of your history and, yourself also, how you got involved in the wine industry and of the Meye.
Yeah. I always say fifth generation to be farming in the area because I'm not part of the farm is part of the old family farm, but as most family farms, pieces were different family members took over different sections and some were added on, etc. But let's say farming in Mulservlei, fifth generation. So it's, let's say where we are now, the part where the cellar is, that was added on in 1980. My father did that. My cousin's farm next door to me at Stellenbosch, and which is very nice to have. There are a lot more family members in the area, which is one is rather lucky having being in the same area for a long time, and farming with family next door. And there are also friends that are other families, not related, that have been farming in this area, the Starks, the Cedarwalls, also for a few generations. So there's quite a connection in the area.
Well, that's awesome. Have you always been farming with vines?
The farms, like most farms in the past, were very mixed. We've only been solely vineyards for the last, I'd say, 15 years. Probably not. Every now and then we plant vegetables, etc., but not on a large scale. We do have lavender, which is also not on a large scale. But before that, the farming was very mixed in this area. There was always vineyard, but with, say, dairy, vegetables, fruit trees. You pretty much cattle and chickens, pigs. So whatever, and sheep, whatever you can think of, they farmed with. I think my father farmed with everything. Whenever he thought of a new idea, he started farming with it, which is probably wasn't the best thing to do, but because you couldn't, bit of a jack of all trades in the end. You should focus on a few things, I think. That's what we thought. But then you have a look at the other point of view and you think, have all your eggs in one basket. I don't know. So I don't know what the answer is.
I think that answer has changed a lot now. There's a lot of people that focused on the tourism industry in the whole business and never thought that the worldwide tourist industry would come to a standstill. So, that all the eggs in one basket theory has been tested severely in with what we're having at the moment.
You're right. I think up until sort of a week before they announced we were going into lockdown, let's say for the Meye, our most stable income was call it the hospitality side. Whereas when I say hospitality, cellar door and restaurant and venue income, and within 10 days that was non-existent.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, you have a bit of a diversified business, and I'm interested to hear more about the lavender. I mean, you're bringing a bit of France into South Africa. So, did you start cultivating the lavender? And actually, what I'm interested in is where do you actually sell this?
Yeah, so the lavender, we started off just planting lavender for oil, and my thinking was probably close to 20 years ago now. It's always remained small. It's never, my idea was that if you're farming, that you could add value, that you could make products with your lavender, with the lavender oil, added to different things, which quite honestly I haven't done. So we've just been selling the oil to a few health shops and from the farm. My thinking was as well, wine is very expensive to move around. If you have it to courier it somewhere, it's costly. Lavender in a 10 ml bottles it's very affordable to move around. It's also high value. So if you're looking at the same volume of lavender oil and the same volume of wine, you sort of can't compare it. It's very valuable. So I also thought it was something different to do, although there are a few farms that have it now, as we're not unique. Then a few years ago, we started planting a different variety, which we sell as cut flowers. So that's a lot simpler. We started last week. We pick and bunch, and we sell it just very much locally in Stellenbosch to the few shops, delis, etc. And it's kind of a nice extra business to have, particularly in the winter. And it's also something if we're dropping off wine, it's very easy in Stellenbosch, it's very easy to have a bit of lavender, a few lavender bunches in the vehicle and doing that at the same time. It doesn't, they work well together.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, I mean, your like you said, your hospitality business. Tell us a little bit about that. You have a restaurant called The Table. I've been there. It's very, very nice. And then, what type of events and stuff do you actually host?
So when I say hospitality, it's the table. The Table restaurant doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to the Meye, although it is on the Meye. It belongs to Brendan and Lee. They took over the restaurant in September last year, and it's been going for 9 years, over 9 years now, excluding this period with this funny period we're going through at the moment. But it's been going for over 9 years. And when you asked her what other events?
Yeah, I mean, I do events. What else do you offer there when at the farm?
Oh, so besides the restaurant, we've got the old dairy's been turned into a venue, which we host weddings, any kind of, we've had weddings, we've had birthdays, any kind of celebration, small seminars, conferencing, we plan to do a few music events as things open up for the summer.
How popular is live music in the wine areas?
I think if you can get it right, it is rather popular. If you can do it where you have a space where it starts sort of in the late afternoon or in the afternoon on a lawn, on the grass with food and light sort of picnic style food. I think that's quite popular.
And it will go on until sunset, but not much later, because I get the idea that people don't really want to go out too late when they've got to drive.
I think you're right. I think it's harder to if your hours are later at night, it's harder to get a big enough crowd to make it a viable event. And a lot of people don't like to drive out or drive back when it's dark. The countryside, they know street lights, etc., and you get people complaining. So,
well, at least you're not far from Stellenbosch. So in case of a wedding and stuff like that, do people then stay over nearby?
We have a list of about 10 or 12 guest houses in the area within an 8K radius, but often we find people say it's close enough, you don't have to stay over. And you see people arriving with shuttles, with Uber, etc. And you never know how many cars are going to come. Some of the larger weddings, I've always been surprised that sometimes it's even fewer cars than the other weddings because people do carpooling or share lifts or the shuttles. So you never really know. But it means we're close enough to we're close enough to Stellenbosch, northern suburbs, just around the corner.
Oh, that's great. So Philip, your wines. Who's your winemaker at the Meye?
Okay, so at the moment, Francois Hosbrook. So at the moment, so Francois Hosbrook is a winemaker, and we Francois is an old friend of mine, and we do sort of a collaboration, probably for lack of a better word. So he still makes his own wine, and under the name Blackwater. So we offer him the facility. So he uses our winery. He's based here, makes his wine, and then he makes our wine for us as well. It just, and yeah, I think I suppose it's a different way of doing it. It doesn't work for everybody to do it that way, but for me, it works for us for now. Yeah.
So the philosophy that goes into the winemaking, what would you say is the main thing that you guys look at?
I think, yeah. So Francois done his second vintage here. I would say our approach has changed quite a bit from previously, and we are, let's say, the first red wine that's solely Francois wine, let's put it that way, under Francois, is our 2019 Syrah, which is it's unwooded. It's which is quite different for.
That's interesting. Yes.
Yeah, lots of fruit. I don't know how else to just I don't know how else to explain it. Sort of lots of fruit. It's juicy. To me, it's a completely different style. We call it Syrah as opposed to Shiraz, which in the past we always referred to as Shiraz. It's a complete different style, but it just seems to work so well, and it's just been selling so well.
So is this also a fact that you could? This is you don't have to wait to drink it. It's easily drinkable at a younger age. That's one of the reasons.
Exactly, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. We want to produce wines in that style. We still have a Cabernet, which will spend. Cabernet just takes a lot longer to be ready. It spends time in barrel, etc. But I have been most surprised at how this wine turned out, and that's the way Francois does it. And to me, we are very happy with what he's done there.
Well, that's interesting. Do you find that the market is changing? With younger people. I mean, especially millennials seem to be more, less interested in the older style of winemaking and looking for something different.
I think you're right. I'm definitely not a millennial, but even I'm changing. No, I think you're right. It's definitely like that. And I was listening to a talk the other day and it was three American people Americans are based in very big wineries, and they're the communication, and they were just saying that millennials also, because there was an article quite recently saying that millennials are the biggest threat to the wine industry from the point of view that they're not interested in wine, or not, they haven't taken to wine like the former generations have. I suppose there's just too much choice. But what they also said was, with millennials, you don't try and fool them. Be honest about it. If you have a virtual cellar or virtual winery, don't pretend there is actually, you tell them it's a brand that you buy in, and you do this and you do that. You don't have to tell them it's on the highest peak, the coolest vineyard, etc., etc. Be honest with them, and that's what they're after: honesty, truthful. Being the truth. I think I'm going off the topic there.
No, you're not, because I think also, I mean, part of that truth is things like sustainability and biodiversity, and even people looking at things like vegan wines and stuff like that, which is, is the trend.
Yeah. I was listening to a thing. I'm trying to think of his name now. The boss of Patagonia, the clothing company. I was listening to an interview with him, and he spoke of, I think I've got the word right, regenerative agriculture, as in where everybody's talking about. They're saying, everything is organic and blah blah blah, but also sometimes at a cost. It's also about, yes, organic, but building up the soil. Often there's still topsoil dust, even that you're growing things organically and etc. etc. But so you got to go a step further and keeping just putting back more and more than just. I don't think organic is enough. Not that we're organic, but we like the idea, and it's a process that we'll work towards. But you can still build up your soil in the meantime.
So that's interesting. I also think that
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it does. But I think that the Cape Winelands has a huge advantage in that, if you go to like the big European wineries, it's almost like a production factory, in terms of they're making huge volumes, and it's not necessarily as tourism friendly as we are in the Western Cape. And it gives us a major advantage because people will still go for the experience, even if they drink a little bit less wine. They're still going to drink, they're still going to buy some wine, but they're also going to experience the environment and all the other things that you can offer in a diversified offering of tourism as a lifestyle, rather than just, buying wine and taking it home.
Yeah. I'm almost embarrassed to say I haven't visited enough wine regions of the world to see other, to give a good answer on that. But as in, we're not the only place with smaller wineries. You see many countries with smaller and even smaller than the average one over here, I guess. Which somehow seem to stay afloat. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's the European or subsidies that they get, but it's that fine line about being large enough, small enough, but that it works. You want to end up being. You don't want to just be small that you got to sell at super high prices because you just, to me that's also not right.
Yeah, it's also not, like you say, sustainable over time. Talking about prices and stuff like that, what do you guys have about do you have any specials at the moment, with this whole situation that's going on that you would like to tell us about?
We have been doing case specials, and we changed that. If you come and collect, a full case of something, we have a far better price.
We'll give you free delivery if you come and collect, right?
And we do it directly. Yeah.
I'm just joking.
The changes weekly because there's been a mad rush, as with everybody, I think, as soon as the things opened up. So our stock levels are we're out of stock with quite a few wines, but we're bottling again next week. So I can't tell you exactly because next week we'll have or the week after next, we'll have different, we have more wine on our list, and we'll have the specials on those wines as well. So it's difficult to say that at the moment we're out of rosé, we're out of Chardonnay, etc., and we're bottling those two next week.
So if people want to get information on this, where do they find you where do they get the information from?
We do have a website, but the website is busy being redone. Our online shop should be done by the end of this week, I hope. Yeah.
Okay, so you have an online shop that's going to be done, and okay, so we'll put the links on the website down in the description here. Where are your wines being sold? Mostly locally?
Yeah, we export and local percentage, but we're probably about 50-50 or 60-40 export, and our sort of biggest market is, and so Germany, Denmark, Holland, England, Africa. And then the local market, we sell more. Most of our sales are done directly from. In the beginning, we wanted to be everything to everybody, and you wanted your wine to be all over. And as things have changed, we've changed, and now Okay. And I'm not saying it's the correct way or the wrong way to do it, but for now, that's how we're doing it.
Do you think local sales tourism environment?
I see. Yeah, I think it's going to be very important. Obviously, if you have a certain size, export is very important. You don't think you'll be able to, although I've heard stories of surprised you how much, what percentage they sell in the local market. So maybe I'm not as informed as I should be. Important. If you think of, let's say we have few tourists, although I said that I think the tourism will come back quicker than we think. But let's say it is important to be on local, probably more than ever to be. It has changed. I don't think you have to be available in every retail store. Yeah, online shop. We should have done that long ago. The situation now is not the same as during lockdown or not. Yeah, the coronavirus. Nothing for the Meye. We do need to improve on our marketing awareness. Been around making wine for 22 years, and I think we're still one of the, we're quite the social media. We have to improve on that side of our business largely. As I say, I think we're still unknown, and it's time to.
I think everybody's
improve on our
in the same
marketing
situation, right? And so that's in. I mentioned that in wine marketing and that. And so on.
I think definitely it's going to. And if you look at listening to what those three companies were talking about, if you're dealing with particularly the millennials, then you have to speak to them, and that's the way you speak to them. It's not this traditional way of, but it's the online. You can't not get involved in. I think your business will die if you don't attract them to your business.
Your wine journey has been quite a few years. What have you learned from your wine journey personally?
It's been, do you want the honest? It's a hard business. Not saying it's a tough business. It's a very nice business to be involved in. I say from an industry rather. Very nice. It's really nice people, and they talk. If in the wine business, you're part of the same tribe. I think no matter what, retail, journalism, etc., you'll have a common interest, and which is rather nice to like that. From the business side, it's difficult. I think no matter what part of the business you're in, it's very capital intensive for people that have, like any industry, some are flying, I'm not saying the majority, coast along. And please, everybody, don't try and be everything for everybody. I'm repeating myself there. It's so easy to get into the trap of someone's blind, and you go, no, we don't. And then you think 3 months later, let's start producing one and sourcing one. It's just, just too many. Yeah, don't try and do everything.
Oh, that's interesting. So I always ask everybody the same question. Do you have a favorite in the wine industry?
I don't have my own quote, but there like in particular is I don't know whose quote this is the art of winemaking is being able to practice your craft. If you can get that right, then you're doing okay.
That's quite interesting. I've never heard that before. So that's awesome.
I'm not claiming that.
So thanks for talking to us. And
thank you. And thanks for chatting to me.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.